focusing on questioning, critical thinking, and problem solving. It's associated with the idea involve me and I understand. Now here's our brief outline. What is anchored instruction? What are the principles of AI? The key elements of AI? Stages of AI? How can AI be used to promote student learning? Example of learning activities centered on AI. And then we'll have a mock scenario of let's play on a blended learning course on anchored instruction. And then we'll show you the module development and how it's done. And then we'll have link and references at the end of our presentation. So what is anchored instruction? Anchored instruction places an emphasis on the importance of creating an anchor or focus that generates interest and enables students to identify and define problems and to pay attention to their own perception and comprehension of these problems. Another definition of anchored instruction is the use of an anchor, material, or piece of media, often a video, to create a shared experience among learners and a beginning point for further learning on the topic. Anchored instruction is also an inquiry-based approach to learning. It can provide the focal point or be the catalyst for meaningful activities. Students are provided with scenarios, realistic case studies, and/or specific problems to solve. Through information exploration, group discussion, and collaborative projects, students address meaningful questions. Students are always asking how their class activities relate to the real world. Developed by John Bransford in the late 1980s while working with Laserdisc technology, anchored learning environments invite students to explore situations, identify embedded data, and solve complex, authentic problems. Students become authors by writing the end of the story. In a nutshell, anchored instruction is designed to promote useful knowledge rather than inner knowledge, and the major goal is to help students see critical features of the problem situations and to then change their perception or view of the anchor as they view situations from new points of view. Now, the underlying theory is Piaget's theory of cognitive development. This proposes that humans cannot be given information which they immediately understand and use. Instead, humans must construct their own knowledge. They build their knowledge through experience. It's the experiences that enables them to create schemas, which are mental models in their heads. These schemas are changed, enlarged, and made more sophisticated through two complementary processes, which is assimilation and accommodation. Now, what are the principles of AI? The principles of AI is that learning and development is a social and collaborative activity. Learning should occur in a meaningful context and not be separated from learning and knowledge developed in the real world. And learning is also out-of-school experiences should be related to the learner's experiences. Knowledge needs to be presented in an authentic context. Learning requires social interaction and collaboration. So what are the key elements of AI? Well, learning and teaching activities should be designed around an anchor. The anchor must contain sufficient data to allow for critical thinking and problem solving. There must be clear learning objectives, and there should be opportunity for student-student interaction and student-instructor interaction. Course materials related to the anchor should allow room for exploration, questioning, and involvement in the situation by the learner, and learners should take ownership and think about the thought processes involved. And we'll walk you through the key elements of AI later in a mock scenario. Now, the instructional design principles underlying the anchored instructions are: instruction highlights the use of knowledge to help students to see the needs of learning the new information and set up the learning goals. Students are encouraged to identify their own question to the problem, to set up their own goals and issues when they explore the anchors, a problem-solving environment in the video disc format, and to identify relevant information and to come up with solutions. And teachers need to learn to give control to students, letting students establish their learning goal. Teachers are no longer authoritative sources of knowledge, but facilitators and guides to support students' problem-solving process, such as helping them to identify their goals. Well, why anchors? Ransford argued that anchors are macro contexts that consist of rich information and are complex to be viewed from several perspectives. It is different from the micro contexts that are individual examples that are used to illustrate a particular dimension from a specific perspective. Anchors are more manageable for teachers to organize instruction around anchors and to find all the resources necessary to accomplish the actual community-based project. It also provides opportunities to begin with information-rich anchors, and it also equalizes the preparation of the students for the project, providing a common ground of shared knowledge that facilitates active participation by students as well as by other members of the community. So the stages of AI are, well, introduce the anchor, as I mentioned, develop shared experiences around the anchor, expand on the concept of anchor, use knowledge as tools for problem solving, and then work on projects related to anchor and then share what is learned. So, students, how can AI be used to promote student learning? Well, students are provided with scenarios, realistic case studies, and or specific problems to solve. Through information exploration, group discussion, and collaborative projects, students address meaningful questions. Students are always asking how their class activities relate to the real world. Well, you would ask, how would a classroom employing anchored instruction appear? Well, the classroom would be set up so that the students would be working in groups. Depending upon the size of the class, maybe a large circle or series of workstations which would promote discussion and exchange of ideas. Sort of falls along the idea of a Montessori school system. The problems require the students to discuss and debate various options and procedures that the anchor reinforces. The problems can be complex and more than one solution may be correct. Regarding assessment, students are free to respond with whatever they produce as long as the students can justify the solution in reference to prior instruction and the anchor. Well, as I mentioned before, the role of the teacher will be to provide the story and explain the activity to the students. Educators or instructors provide the questions or problems that the students have to solve, utilizing the information contained in the story. Then the activity should be student-oriented, the students take ownership, and the teacher should only act as a guide or facilitator. So if students have not done this type of activity before, then the teacher should model an example response to the problem solving, how to employ information from the anchor to solve it or apply it to the assigned task. Instructors serve as a role model for the activities method, and teachers should demonstrate an entire example of response subsequently. And the instructor remains available to help them distinguish between information needed to solve the problem and extraneous facts. Now the examples can be instructor can use websites, web text video, or multimedia files to provide a context of a problem. For example, virtual tours, simulations, pictures, virtual reality. And WebQuest is usually built around inquiry-based approach, which falls in line with anchored instruction, and of course the use of World Wide Web to research information. Well, more specific examples centered on AI is that, for example, rather than having students find the perimeter of an area with no context for why they would do that, have them figure out reasons why you would need to find a perimeter in the first place, as well as the variations that can occur on a large figure. Second scenario could be students might read realistic fiction focusing on real-world problems, conflicts, or issues. For instance, a shared reading experience might involve reading a book about a person with physical or mental challenges, such as Marcello in the Real World by Francisco X. Stork. Of course, books, videos, photographs, and websites can all provide the focal point for catalysts for activities. As I mentioned, many WebQuest follow this anchored approach to instruction. There are actually other video anchored instructions that are really popular, such as The Adventures of Jasper Woodbury. In that series that's designed for middle-aged school learners, students, each video serves as an active exploration with knowledge and endurable understandings constructed by student participants. The technology is the anchor, the story that contains the information embedded into the storyline that the students will need to solve the problem. In the Adventures of Jasper Woodbury series, students are able to view and comprehend the video disc, identify information needed to solve the problem, create a hypothesis or set of potential solutions to the problem, organize information in a manner that logically supports their solution, independently conduct productive discussion within their groups, collaborate within their group to develop solutions to the problem, and exchange ideas and apply knowledge within their group. Similarly, the Young Sherlock project is also constructed the same way with video-based format, narrative realistic problems, generative format, example stories, and students must generate the problems to be solved, embedded data design. All the data needed to solve the problems are in the video. It has problem complexity. Each adventure involves a problem of at least 14 steps. Pairs-related adventure, which is providing extra practice and core schema that help transfer to real-life context. And of course, it links across the curriculum, help extend mathematical thinking to other areas, and encourage the integration of knowledge, support information findings, and sharing. Now, ready to walk through a mock scenario? Well, imagine you're an instructional designer and is asked to design an anchored instructional course using real-life context in e-learning. What would you do? Well, Jen and I will take you through a mock scenario using Moodle Learning Management System. And the course would be a blended learning model. And the questions we would ask are, when would anchored instruction be appropriate for teaching and learning? How to develop an e-learning course based on anchored instruction? What should the modules involved? So we work with the instructor really closely and figure out these questions. And based on the response that we get, we would follow the principles and of course the key elements as well as the stages of AI development. And there are 6 modules. Well, the first module would be, what is anchored instruction? Note that is the anchor, meaning the anchor is the subject matter. Question, what is anchor? Using PowerPoint presentations and online activities such as Moodle to help students think about anchor and what is anchor. Then in Module 2, we will meet Professor Bill, who teaches the course. And then we'll use Moodle activities using content and discussion areas, where students are able to share what they have found and learn about anchored, and they are also able to communicate with the instructor at the same time, which falls in line with the stages of AI development for number 2. And then in Module 3, when to use anchored instruction, we would have Moodle activities using discussion board again and content areas. We would expand on the concept of anchor. How can it be applied to other areas of expertise that the students might have? For example, social studies, mathematics, geometry, engineering, art, liberal studies. Depending on their areas of expertise, how can the concept of anchor be applied to those specific areas of disciplines? And in Module 4, now that students have explored anchored, how can they use the knowledge they have gained, knowing what they know about anchored now more than they did before or have no prior knowledge? How can they use it to solve a performance instructional problem? So in this scenario, we'll probably give them an inquiry-based approach problem or a video that's really short, and have them organize their knowledge of anchored and to solve a particular problem that being presented either on the video or on paper. A very short case-based scenario. And then in number 5, we'll have them collaborate on an anchored project together. How and which is falls in line with the AI process of stages of development number 5. And then in number 6, they will share what they have learned about anchored instruction in the real context and how does it apply in the environment. So I've just walked you through basically the 6 processes that is involved, the stages that are involved in developing a anchored instruction course in blended learning. And if this sounds familiar, it's exactly what Jen and I have been doing throughout this course as well, in trying to collaborate and come up with our project for anchored instruction for this course. Now, the last slide is links and resources. I really highly encourage you to look into the Vanderbilt, where John Bransford started this anchored instruction project. There's also articles on using anchored instruction to teach pre-series teachers. There's also a concept called the enhanced anchored instruction And there are several video-based anchored instruction articles and related materials that sort of help support the idea of anchored instruction inquiry-based learning approach. So now to recap, just wanted to mention that phase 1, introduce the anchor, which is what we did. Phase 2, develop shared experiences around the anchor. Phase 3, expand on the concept of anchor. And then phase 4, use knowledge as tools for problem solving, and then collaborate with others as well as share experiences. Thank you again for your time, and I hope you've learned about anchored instructions as we have. Thank you.